Live from Exhibition Stadium, Toronto, the CFL Report. Ahead, the highlights of Week 17. A special preview look at TSN's Game of the Week, the Rough Riders and the Argos. And the Rough Riders' newest quarterbacking hero, Kent Austin. TSN CFL Report. It's our game around here, brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery. Second meeting of the season for the Argonauts and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Saskatchewan needs to win tonight at Exhibition Stadium. Hi, everyone. I'm John Wells. Welcome to the CFL Report, live from Exhibition Stadium in Toronto tonight. For a change in Canadian football, they're talking about a football game, not the troubles that the league has been having lately. Specifically this one, the Argonauts and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And it goes back to an early season game, July 4th in Regina, to be exact, when the Roughriders and the Argonauts tied at 33. But the big story that came out of that game was this one. James Curry and his hit on John Kangemi after Kangemi had thrown an interception. Later, Kangemi and Curry had words about the situation. Most importantly, though, Curry was fined by the Canadian Football League. Well, this week in Toronto, it has been Curry all over the front pages of the newspapers as he has talked about revenge, or at least getting back to John Kangemi. Kangemi, not the starter tonight, but he might see action. And standing by on the sidelines with the man of the moment, here is Leif Pedersen.
Well, John, you know, James Curry has not made a lot of friends around the Canadian Football League this year, but James, I don't think you really care about that, do you?
I'm not concerned about the CFL as a whole. I'm concerned about what goes on in Regina and with my teammate, Leif. We have a great time out there. We're having a great time on the field nowadays. People are taking a lot of notice when we show up, and they're hating once we show up at the stadiums.
Now, you've made a lot of talk this week about how bad and how mean you're going to be. Now, are you really like that?
Hey, I'm just as evil as I say I am on the field. I'm possibly the dirtiest player in the CFL. I know I'm probably one of the meanest, and once the game starts, you'll take a lot of note of that. You'll see people hollering and complaining. You'll see people laying on the ground, and it won't be me.
Now, you've taken a couple of shots at Leo Cahill this week. Now, do you really mean all those things about Leo, bad management and everything?
I mean everything I say about Leo. You know, Leo, you can take everything he says with a grain of salt and hold on to the grain of salt because it probably has more context than what he will say to you.
Now, earlier on Sports Desk tonight, you told Mark Jones that you had a little thing that you were going to write on your shoe. Now, what happened with that?
Oh, what I did, Leo offered $5 grand for whoever could take me out of the game, and I just wanted to remind everyone when they were down in the stands that they could have a shot at it because I written it on the side of my shoes.
Just getting to the game tonight, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, outside chance at the playoffs. Is this the kind of team that could maybe make a run at it?
Well, right now, we're not concerned about the playoffs as a whole. We're concerned about this game tonight. We need this game. This victory is very instrumental for the rest of our season, and we're going to go out there and take this one from the Argonauts and not worry about the playoffs. We just need game-by-game performance.
Well, James, you know, you've created a lot of excitement here in Toronto this week, and really, I personally think that's what the league needs a little bit, and we're going to be watching you closely tonight. Have a good game.
Well, I created some excitement before the game, and I'm going to do a lot of it during the game. Thank you, Lee.
Now let's go upstairs to John Wells and his guest, Leo Cahill.
Okay, Leif, and Leo Cahill reportedly offered a bounty on James Curry going into the game tonight. And, Leo, I don't know where the story got started, but in fact, did you offer $5,000 to an Argonaut to get to James Curry?
I think Danny Ferroni said it best. We offered $1 to get rid of him, and that would be too much. But seriously, we don't do that in professional football, and I wouldn't want to get rid of James Curry anyhow. They may get a football player in there that could play.
You guys don't like each other for some reason. You heard what Curry just had to say about you. What's the problem with Curry?
No, I don't dislike James. I think he's a competitor. I think he was wrong in what he did to John Kangemi, and I said that. But, you know, he's come out and made outlandish statements like, I wanted to get him out of the league. And that's ridiculous because, like I said, getting him out of the league would only have Saskatchewan get a good player in his place, and then we'd be in trouble. The other thing he said was that I personally had a vendetta for him, and $5,000 to players to put him out of the ball game and things like this. We wouldn't do anything like that, John.
Where would the story get started, though?
I think he conjured it up himself, and, you know, none of our players would ever tell him anything like that because, number one, I don't have anything to do with our players. It's the coach's job that handle the players, and I go in there just before the game and say, good game, lots of luck in the game, boys, and that's the extent I talk to them all week long.
Okay, Leo, thank you very much. It could be a bit of a grudge match coming up. We look forward to this one. Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Toronto Argonauts ahead on TSN tonight, and coming up, a closer look at the Rough Rider quarterback. back to the CFL Report on TSN, live from Exhibition Stadium. 2 weeks ago, Kent Austin debuted as the quarterback of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He's won 2 games since then. Needless to say, he's a big story.
Down at the 20. The Saskatchewan Roughriders were 3-9-1, and despite a recent upset of the BC Lions, were going nowhere. A dismal performance in Calgary had all but snuffed their playoff hopes. Enter Kent Austin, a 24-year-old from Nashville, Tennessee, who spent last season as the St. Louis Cardinals' third stringer. Austin engineered a 23-20 win over the Hamilton Tiger Cats and a 34-25 win over the Edmonton Eskimos, a game in which he passed for 333 yards.
Yeah, I don't really know how to explain that. It's really a combination of a lot of things. It's really you can't just pinpoint it on me. I deserve probably the least amount of credit for all that. And I mean, honestly, I think most of the credit goes to the players here that are still playing really hard. You know, the linemen, protecting me, were dropping back in the pocket most every play instead of rolling out. Put a lot of burden on those guys to pick up the stunts and the twists up front. And the receivers, I think, deserve a lot of credit. They made some really big plays. Our slots and our wideouts have all made really big plays, and the running backs are catching the ball and running good routes.
There isn't a lot to keep Kent busy away from the field while in Regina, so he spends time working on his playbook. He's only been with the Riders for a little over a month with roommate Don Narcisse. Austin and Narcisse share an apartment with the Riders' other new wide receiver, Ray McDonald.
We get along real well, me, Ray, and Don. And, it's an advantage because we're able to talk about things during the week before the upcoming game, about what patterns we think will work and what they feel like will work and won't work. And we're able to watch some film, and they kind of decide what patterns they think they can beat an individual guy on. And just going over the game plan and stuff like that helps out. And plus, if you get along with guys, I think it kind of carries over on the field too.
While playing in the NFL has its appeal, Austin had no interest in returning during the NFL strike as a replacement player.
For a player that didn't have any other opportunities whatsoever, I can understand, him going ahead and playing, but that wasn't my case, and so I just didn't feel like it was a good situation for me.
Long-suffering Rider fans have been awaiting the arrival of the Messiah since the retirement of Ron Lancaster. Kent Austin has yet to prove he can be the savior, yet the early stages of his CFL career would indicate he may be the genuine article. Jeff Currier, TSN, Regina.
Well, Kent Austin has won 2 in a row for the Roughriders. He joins us live on the sidelines now at Exhibition Stadium. And Kent, you must feel rather confident about your performances in the last 2 games going into tonight's game with the Argos.
Well, as I said in the interview, I don't think I deserve most of the credit. I think the credit goes to the guys that have been here and have gone through a lot of hard times and a lot of injuries, and yet they're still determined to win and playing hard and practicing hard.
Areas to exploit on this Toronto Argonaut secondary and defense tonight. Have you got any area that you might be able to work on?
They're not really. They're good defensively. They got good up front people, and they play a lot of zone coverages, and they try to bring people from the secondary and still play zone. So I don't really think we'll hit too many deep, and we'll just have to be patient with them.
Do you think you can win this one here tonight?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Okay. Good luck.
Thanks a lot.
And congratulations on your showing so far. Kent Austin, the Roughriders' newest quarterback hero in Saskatchewan. Right now, let's take a look back to Week 17 in the Canadian Football League and the TSN Players of the Week. Friday night in Toronto, Argonaut cornerback Darnell Clash came up with a big play when it really counted. In the 4th quarter, Clash returned an interception of a Todd Dillon pass, 93 yards for the Major. The TD sparked the sluggish Argonauts to a come-from-behind win over the Ottawa Roughriders. Saturday night in Vancouver, the Lions got a good all-round effort from their defense. Cornerback Keith Gooch led the way, a key performer with 2 interceptions. Gooch grabbed 2 as the Lions stopped their 2-game losing streak at the expense of the Tiger Cats. Keith Gooch. Sunday afternoon in Regina, Saskatchewan running back Walter Bender had the best game of his season. Bender rushed for 76 yards and a pair of touchdowns, as well as catching a 22-yard pass for another Major. Bender's contributions helped the Roughriders upset the Eskimos. We continue with the CFL Report live from Exhibition Stadium. 26 minutes to kick off right now, and it is a lovely evening for football. It was a little chilly last week when the Ottawa Roughriders were in town, but a beautiful night tonight, 10 degrees Celsius, and just over 25 minutes to kick off. Still ahead, TSN's Canadian players from Week 17 and Leafs picks. Exhibition Stadium, Toronto, 23 minutes to kickoff. And the game between the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Toronto Argonauts, our game of the week on TSN, coming up in just a few moments from now. And it is all of a sudden a rather important game for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who fight for their playoff lives. We'll have more on the matchups coming up in just a moment. But right now, let's look back to Week 17 and the Canadian Players of the Week. This week's runner-up, safety Glenn Suter of the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Back to pass, pumps, brings it down.
Against the Eskimos, Suter, a 3-year veteran from Simon Fraser, picked off a pair of passes and made one key tackle to help Saskatchewan topple the Eskimos.
5-yard line. Glenn Suter with his second of
TSN's outstanding Canadian for Week 17 is defensive end Glenn Kulka of the Toronto Argonauts. Against Ottawa, Kulka had one of his best games in a 2-year CFL career. He registered 3 sacks to go along with 1 tackle against the Rough Riders. Glenn Kulka of the Argonauts, TSN's outstanding Canadian for Week 17. Just 3 weeks remain in the CFL's 1987 regular season. As far as the Eastern Division is concerned, all the playoff spots have been spoken for. But in Saskatchewan, there's still hope that the Rough Riders can overtake the Calgary Stampeders. With more on the Saskatchewan story setting up tonight's game, let's go to Jeff Courier.
When the Rough Riders play the Argonauts at CNE Stadium, observers may be wondering if quarterback Kent Austin can work his magic for a 3rd week in a row.
I think there's too much attention being focused on me, and the offense. The offense takes 4 guys out there. It's not just one guy. I think we've got a good offense throughout. We've got good receivers, good slot backs. We've got good running backs. We've got a good offensive line.
Well, I think he's played very well. Just coming in and being here short 2.5 weeks, picked up the offense very quickly and has done a good job in all respects.
Perhaps overlooked in the recent resurgence of the Green Riders is the improvement on defense. 7 interceptions against the Edmonton Eskimos gave the Riders a team record 38 picks for the season. Veterans Harry Skipper, Glenn Suter, and Dave Sidhu have 7 apiece.
Well, I think in the last month we've put a lot more pressure on the quarterback than we did earlier in the season. So that's usually when you're having success in the secondary, it's because of pressure up front and keeping that quarterback on the run. And if we can continue to do that, I think we'll continue to get interceptions.
I think especially Joe Fuller and Roderick Fisher are playing very, very good football right now. And, in our decision on some of our young guys offensively, we've had to make some changes over there, but not all that many, and I think we're starting to play better as a team, and we know each other a little bit better, and that helps.
Gregory and the Rough Riders all name Argo running back Gil Fenerty as the man they must stop. It will be up to Kent Austin and the Rough Rider offense to keep the ball and keep it away from Gil Fenerty. Jeff Courier, TSN, Regina.
Okay, Jeff, the Saskatchewan Roughriders is mentioned with 2 victories in a row. Kent Austin is getting a lot of credit for what has gone on in Saskatchewan from the quarterback position, but there are other stories, including the running game with Walter Bender. And standing by now with Walter Bender, here's Mark Jones.
Thanks, John. Walter Bender, it's been a tough season for you. You've rotated in and out with the other halfback on the squad, Tim McRae. What's it been like?
It's been tough. At the beginning of the season, Timmy played the first couple of games, and he was playing real well, and I had to sit down and wait. The coaching staff made it known at the end of training camp that they wanted to play me and Timmy both, and they wanted to rotate us to keep us both fresh. And, with him and myself being the competitors that we are, we wanted to be in there week after week, playing, but, we have to do what's right for the team.
Walter, one of your strengths is being able to make a lot of things happen after you catch the ball. Do you think you can exploit the deep drops by the Argonaut linebackers tonight?
Yes, I think if our offense be patient, they're a very good defensive team, but if we're patient and take what they give us, I think we can make something happen.
Yeah. Walter, maybe planting the seeds for next year with good performance here and the remainder of the season?
Yes, I never think ahead to the next season. I just want to concentrate on these last 3 games and possibly more if we're lucky enough to make the playoffs, and just finish strong, play hard, and hope I can finish strong.
Okay. Walter Bender with 2 touchdowns last week, 76 yards, one of his best performances of the season. This week, though, there'll be a group of Argonauts on the other side of the line of the scrimmage trying to make his night a miserable one. Glenn Kulka, Gerald Bayless, Rodney Harding, and Dan Sellers. The Toronto Argonaut front 4. Statistically, they are not that impressive, but they play that classic bend but don't break defense. Stopping Saskatchewan's Walter Bender will be a challenge. Toronto's the second-ranked team against the run.
We're going to have to really keep him in check, you know, because we know he's going to be really fired up, especially because he's playing against Toronto. And, you know, also he is having a great year, and, you know, we're just going to have to play, you know, a little bit harder than we've been playing.
We get excited about these type of teams, you know. Myself, I'm a linebacker at heart, and I like to get in the floor to run and make some tackles upfield and, you know, pursuits.
The Argos are getting more pressure on opposing quarterbacks. The front four is freelancing a lot more, and the quarterbacks are feeling the heat.
Enabling us to do a lot more as far as the front four is concerned, change things up, call a few stunts on our own and whatnot. Plus, we're a young group, you know, and we're just starting to play together a lot better.
We're not an overpowering defense. We're more a finesse defense, you know, and the stunts, you know, we are more to our advantage because of our quickness over the offensive lines we play against.
Toronto can still finish first. They have 2 games remaining with Winnipeg. They insist, though, that they're not looking past the Rough Riders.
We got to take this game one at a time, man. We're looking at Saskatchewan because last time we played them, they tied us, and we really owe them something. And this week, we'll get them.
To get them, they're going to have to put a lot of pressure on quarterback Ken Austin. Last week, the Argo front four did a great job, 8 sacks, 3 of them by Glenn Kulka. Anyway, on the offensive side of things, it'll be Stan Johnson filling in for Kenny Joyner. Stan, this is your 4th game as an Argonaut. What do you expect from Saskatchewan?
Well, I expect them to run basically the defense they've been running the last few weeks here. In reference to Kenny Joyner, Kenny's the fine receiver. He's done nothing but help our team all year long. And all I can hope is I can play the quality of football that Kenny's played all year long. And if I do, we're going to win this game tonight.
Stan, you were telling me that you are a wide receiver at heart, but you'll be playing on the inside tonight, the slot back position. What's that going to be like? Is that going to be difficult for you?
No, not really. In fact, I've been born and raised a wide receiver, and the slot back position up here offers a wide receiver the capabilities of getting very physical. And I just love that, and to me it's where I want to make my living. I think I can be very comfortable there. My size is very appropriate for the position, so I just want to go in there and hat it up with the guys, and I'm excited about it.
Stan, good luck tonight. Now let's go back to John Wells.
Okay, Mark, let's go back in history a little bit, in Argonaut history. Joe Theismann back in the early 70s, one of the great quarterbacks in Canadian football. He played in Toronto. This week, Vic Rudder filling in for Peter Watts as another page from the CFL Notebook.
Thanks very much, John. And on this edition of the CFL Notebook, we review a book appropriately titled Theismann and authored by Joe Theismann. And we welcome you back to Toronto, and your CFL Pro debut was with the Argonauts back in 1971. The thing that I didn't realize then was that, in fact, you were offered more money by the Argonauts, guaranteed, than you would have gotten from Miami coming out of Notre Dame.
Yeah, it's true. Leo Cahill, as always, is a very generous man, and I know now he's the same way. And no, I was offered a little bit more. I wouldn't say there was a considerable amount. When you look at the whole package, you know, maybe $15,000, $20,000, which really wasn't a determining factor for me. I came to play in Toronto because of Leo's salesmanship. It wasn't the money wasn't that great a difference. It was an opportunity to play football. I didn't think I'd get one in Miami, and also because of the uniqueness of the coach.
Now, there was one comment there about Coach Cahill not knowing squat about football, and we'll talk about that. But for somebody who didn't know squat, you got to a Grey Cup game.
Listen, the only reason I said he didn't know squat is he brought me up here. No, you know, it's a funny thing. Leo, when you're 21 years old, I don't know. I was 21. I don't know of anybody who would think that a coach would know anything about football.
But it really had to do with Greg Barton, didn't it? The fact that you alternated on every series.
Sure, I mean, a coach in his right mind would never alternate us every series, and I couldn't figure out to this day why Leo would even think about something like that. I had to go out and eat Greg out of a job. I'd take him over here to the hot dog stand, fill him up with food. I got him so heavy he couldn't compete anymore. That's the only way I got my job. Leo wasn't going to do it.
And the fumble in the Grey Cup, infamous, still lives in.
Wait, hold it. A rebut. I'm getting a rebut. See, now tell him the truth. You didn't know squat about the game, did you?
The truth of the thing was that we went to the Grey Cup with this little spindly-ass guy here. Went to the Grey Cup with him, and I was the coach of the year that year. Right. So it's just another one of his...
I know. But then what happened the year after?
And nobody will let either of you forget Leon McQuay's fumble in
No, neither one of us, I think, will forget. That's what I always say, Joe, that Leon slipped and I fell.
That's right. That's what happened. Leon slipped on a piece of mud, and then Leo wound up on the other side of the street.
Joe Theismann, I thank you very much. Welcome back to Toronto. Hope you enjoy your stay.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
And the book is indeed called Theismann, and you'll enjoy it. There's some interesting reading about his career here with the Argonauts and, of course, with the Washington Redskins. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
That's this edition of the CFL Notebook. Back to you, John.
Okay, Vic, thank you very much for that. Now 13 minutes to kickoff. The Saskatchewan Roughriders, the Toronto Argonauts. It's CNE Stadium in Toronto, and in a moment, Leif Pettersson picks the winners for Week 18. Chilly but comfortable at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto tonight. 10 minutes to kick off. Saskatchewan Roughriders, Toronto Argonauts. A grudge match of sorts after a 33-33 tie in Regina back on July the 4th. And James Curry and John Congemi have certainly gotten some headlines. More importantly, James Curry, because Congemi hasn't had a thing to say about this whole thing.
Well, James has created a lot of excitement. We've talked to him quite extensively, and he's an exciting kind of guy. I'm not sure the players around the league care for him too much, or management around the league, but so what? And I don't think he's going to get a shot at Congemi unless Danny Barrett, of course, gets hurt tonight.
All right, let's pick some winners for this week in Canadian football. You were correct on 2 out of 3 last week. You missed the Rough Riders in spite of the fact that I told you they would win last week. But anyway, let's look first of all to Hamilton, Ottawa. That's the game coming up tomorrow night.
John, you know, Hamilton really has had problems in the last few weeks, and I think they've lost 5 in a row now. And you know, they just don't look good. You know, if there was some light at the end of the tunnel, you might say, well, heck, you know, things may turn around. But quite frankly, they've got some veterans on that defense that just are not playing well. And I think maybe they need a couple of new guys to come in. I don't know whether Ted Schmitz will make any moves, though.
All right, let's take a look at exactly how Leif Pettersson sees this one. The Ottawa Rough Riders at home to the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and you're giving the Rough Riders a bit of a shot here as far as a couple of categories down the right-hand side, rushing, passing.
Well, John, you know, I thought they played very well against Toronto last week, and they've got to win sooner or later, and Hamilton's playing brutal, so look, give Ottawa the win. I know I'm going out on a limb, but what the heck. Ottawa is going to win it at home.
Well, one of these days they have to win a football game, and they have now lost 12 in a row. Here's a game that's going to be rather important to the Saskatchewan Roughriders' hopes of making the playoffs. BC and Calgary in this one on Sunday afternoon.
Well, I tell you, Calgary went into BC place a couple of weeks ago and just smoked them, I think, 41-5, and they're for real. They really are. Larry Kuharich, yeah, Stampeders. They're for real. Larry Kuharich's done a fabulous job, and I think once again this week at home they are going to be tough.
All right, so you like the Calgary Stampeders at home at McMahon Stadium over the BC Lions, and this would create a few problems in the Western Division of the CFL if the Stamps come through.
Well, it really would. You know, like you can see in all the categories, I mean, it's a close game, but give Stampeders the edge. They're playing in McMahon. They played well there lately, so give them the edge at home, and I'd like to see them win myself.
The Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Edmonton Eskimos. A couple of weeks ago, this looked like it might be the Grey Cup matchup. The Eskimos have since fallen on hard times and lost 2 games in a row. The Bombers keep sailing along.
Well, the Bombers have got a great club, and of course, you know, I've said it all year. They've been my pick since day one, and I'm not going to change now. And you know, Wellesley, not too many people at TSN give you a hard time, so I have to come in at least once a week and give you a bit of flack because you're such a homer for Edmonton, and I think Edmonton's playing brutal.
Winnipeg's my hometown.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You still like Edmonton better. You got the green underwear, the whole thing, and when you see the X's on the board, you're going to know how I feel about Edmonton.
You haven't given the Eskimos anything, not even for special teams. We'll wait and see about that one. Let's get to the matter of the moment in our game on TSN tonight. Our game of the week, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Toronto Argonauts. A lot of times this does not look like a good rivalry, a good matchup, but somehow this is an exciting matchup tonight.
John, I think this is going to be a great game, and I'm really looking forward to it. Saskatchewan's playing well, Toronto's playing well, and I think it's going to be a toss-up. Look at the X's on the board. It's really an even game, but Saskatchewan in an upset tonight. You heard it here.
All right. Leif Pettersson has picked the Saskatchewan Roughriders over the Argonauts, and the game is coming right up on TSN. The CFL Report on TSN. It's our game around here, brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery.